All right, let's dive into one of the most famous poems ever written about love, Shakespeare's Sonnet 116. But here's the thing, we're not just going to admire it as a beautiful poem. We're going to break it down, piece by piece, and see it for what it really is, a powerful, persuasive, and honestly, an incredibly bold argument for what true love is all about. So here's how we're going to tackle this. First, we'll look at his opening shot, the marriage of true minds. Then, we'll see how he does this clever trick of defining love by telling us what it isn't. After that, we'll get into his amazing metaphors, see him pit love against its biggest enemy, time, and finally, we'll look at the ultimate bet he makes at the very end. You know, right from the get-go, Shakespeare isn't just trying to sound poetic. He's laying down the law. He's not easing us into his idea. He's making this huge declaration that everything else in the poem is going to build on. So he kicks things off by saying that when it comes to the union of two perfectly matched souls, he refuses. He will not admit any obstacles, any impediments. I mean, what a strong way to start. It's this defiant stand against anything that could possibly get in the way of this perfect love. And this is super important to get right away. When he says marriage, he's not talking about a wedding, a piece of paper, or a legal contract. No, he's talking about something way deeper. It's a fusion of minds, of spirits, a connection that's on a whole other level. And this is where you really see Shakespeare's genius at play. He's actually borrowing a line straight from the official wedding ceremony of his time, where the priest would ask if anyone knew of any impediments. But Shakespeare just completely flips it. He turns a formal question into this personal, powerful vow against any barrier to real love. It's brilliant. Okay, so once he's set the stage, Shakespeare does something really smart, a classic move in any argument. To show you what something truly is, you first have to make it crystal clear what it is not. He's basically saying that any love that changes when things get tough or fades away when someone tries to leave, well, that wasn't real love to begin with. If you can change it, or if you can just get rid of it, it doesn't even qualify for the title. I mean, that is an incredibly high bar, right? He's arguing that true love is so constant it keeps going even if the other person doesn't love you back, or even if they betray you. It's a love that is completely and totally unconditional. And this is a perfect example of a poetic device called a paradox. The line, "love is not love," sounds totally contradictory, doesn't it? But that's the point. Through that contradiction, he reveals a deeper truth. The one thing that defines real love is that it can't change. If it does, it was never love in the first place. All right, so after telling us what love isn't, Shakespeare pivots. Now he gives us two really powerful positive images, two amazing metaphors to prove just how steady and unwavering love is. He literally shouts, "Oh no," like he's forcefully rejecting all that negative stuff he just talked about, and then he offers these two comparisons. Love is an ever-fixed mark, and it is the star. Both are these powerful symbols of guidance that you can always count on, even when the world is chaotic. So you've got these two images working together. The ever-fixed mark, like a lighthouse, stands strong through any storm, representing stability when life gets rough. And then you have the North Star, which guides lost ships, or wandering barks, back home, representing love's power to give us direction when we feel totally lost. But then he adds this one fascinating, almost mysterious line, just about the star. So what he's getting at here is that back in the day, sailors could actually measure the height of the North Star in the sky to figure out where they were. We can see love's effects, right? But the star's real, true value, and love's real value, is something you can't measure. It's priceless, it's immeasurable, and maybe it's just a little bit beyond our full understanding. Okay, now for the big boss battle. Shakespeare knows that the number one argument against anything lasting forever is, well, time itself. So in this next section, he takes on time head on. And look at how he sets this up. It's amazing. He personifies love and time, putting them in a ring like two fighters. He says, love is not time's fool. It's not a toy. It's not a victim. It's not going to be bossed around by time. And this use of personification is so key. He paints time as the grim reaper, with that bending sickle ready to cut down youth and beauty. But he makes it totally clear that while time might rule over the physical world, love is not under its jurisdiction. And this is a really clever move in his argument. He actually agrees with time on one thing. He says, yeah, okay, you're right. Physical beauty, the rosy lips and cheeks, they're gonna fade. He's not denying reality. He's just saying that stuff is completely irrelevant to the marriage of true minds, which time can't touch. And then he just doubles down. He says love's endurance is absolute. It doesn't get worn down by the passing days or weeks. Instead, it bears it out. It endures. It pushes through, all the way to the end of existence itself. And the edge of doom isn't just a fancy way of saying death. It means Judgment Day, the end of the world. The scale of this is just staggering. He's saying true love doesn't just last a lifetime. It goes beyond death and lasts for all of eternity. Okay, here we go. The grand finale, the last 2 lines of the poem. This is where Shakespeare locks his entire argument in place with one of the boldest claims you'll ever read. He throws down the gauntlet. He says, look, if anything I've just said is wrong, if someone can prove this is an error, then 2 things have to be true. 1, I've never written a single word. And 2, no man in the history of the world has ever truly loved. This is a textbook example of hyperbole, a massive exaggeration to make a point you can't argue with. It's a kind of logical checkmate. Since we are, in fact, reading the poem he wrote, and we have to believe that someone, somewhere, has truly loved, well, then his definition of love must be true. It's a total mic drop moment. And that leaves us with the big question, the one that still hangs in the air 400 years later. Shakespeare has given us this vision of a perfect, unchanging, eternal love. So the question for all of us is this a beautiful goal to strive for? Something that inspires us to love better? Or is it an impossible, utopian fantasy that just can't exist in the real, messy world we live in? That's the challenge the poem leaves us with.